Florida State didn't just beat Alabama, it's how they took them apart.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back into another edition of Locked On Seminoles. I am your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for checking out Locked On Seminoles each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. This show is brought to you by our friends over at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Wanted to do an extra reaction show, but with one that has a lot of substance regarding statistics, and it's going to show you how Florida State took apart Alabama. And I'm going to lead with this, and I'm going to reference it in different ways throughout the show. But I want you to think about this. For any football fan out there, or anybody, well, I don't care if you're a Noles fan or just somebody coming in curious, okay, what happened? Why did Florida State beat Alabama? If you're looking for the reason, this is the number one stat of the game. Florida State scores 31 points, and we're going to dissect why it happened through the drives. They didn't have a short drive. All their drives were over 50 yards to get those 30 points. No short fields, no scoop and score, no punt, none of that. They physically manhandled Alabama. That's the number one theme for this show. Second, they did the things they said they were going to do. It's a boring thing to say. We're going to run the ball. We're going to be consistent. We're going to be multiple, and we're going to show a lot of eye candy. Gus said it in his opening press conference way back like in January, through spring, through summer, all the things. It was very linear, and they just did it. They told everybody what they were going to do, including Alabama, and then they did it. And then finally, let's talk a little defense. Florida State's defense was pretty good throughout the day. They gave up the opening drive, but after that, they gave up 10 points the rest of the game. We're going to dissect it statistically in all those areas. But again, we're going to start with the drives. I want everybody to hear just the literal facts. And then I'm going to break down a few of the plays and whatnot. It's amazing because, again, it's one thing to score 31 on a quality opponent. It's another when they don't hand it to you. Alabama was pretty disciplined for the most part. Shortest drive, again, 52 yards. That was the field goal that Florida State scored to go up 17-7. So, without further ado, here are the drives for the Noles. And by the way, you really can't do much better on your first three drives. Three of them, touchdown, field goal. Here's how it went. First drive, Noles get the ball after Bama scored. They're up 7-0. There's only 6:10 left in the first quarter. Bama had a long drive, 15-play drive. I was like, oof, that's pretty impressive. Noles come back, 3 minutes and 4 seconds, 7 plays, 75 yards. Took just very little time to get, just consistent, like just body blow. And they punch it. Okay. Second quarter, you get the ball back. Bama doesn't score. So it's tie ball game. We got a chance. We've got a chance right here to take the lead. This is what's interesting. 3 minutes and 59 seconds for the touchdown. 8 plays, 65 yards. And it was very, very much like the drive before. They just threw when they win it, but 1-2. By the way, as a reminder, Tommy Castellanos was 9 out of 14 in this game. Again, they said we're going to run the ball. They said it all offseason, and they said it in fall camp, this, that, and the other. You could read the tea leaves in those press conferences. They didn't hide anything. I mean, this is what we're going to do, and they just went out and executed it. So 3 minutes and 59 seconds on the second drive for score. Excuse me, and 65 yards. Now, if you look at it from a big box perspective, Florida State, they've got a lead. How many teams coming off a season like they did would kind of sit on it? wouldn't be as aggressive. Give Gus credit. Give Mike Norvell credit, and, of course, the players. When they kicked the field goal on that drive, Bama held them from getting the end zone, I will grant you. But Florida State just kept doing the same things, and they would just mix it up a little bit with, jet sweeps like the Danzy touchdown on the second drive or whatever. That, let's be honest, that was awesome. But I'm not sure that people realize just how much they dissected them. Bama's defensive front, if you go watch it, go back and watch some of the game. They were getting gashed 3, 5, 7 yards at a time. Dissected. They didn't know where it was coming from. Florida State outcoached them. And probably, really, not trying to be mean, it really wasn't that close. I don't know why. Again, they handed everybody what they were trying to do. And Gus's offense is pretty straightforward on his concepts. Now, the individual plays and who gets the ball, part of that Gus doesn't even know because it's RPO stuff. But you knew you had to win in the trenches. And you didn't. Florida State punched you in the mouth on those first 3 drives, the field goal drive being 52 yards. The tone was set. And Bama never had a charge. They never had a comeback. Florida State won because of those long sustained drives without any help. And they just slowly took Alabama's will. And they slowly took out any chance mentally that Alabama was going to have an easy day. Alabama didn't respond. They played hard. I mean, they're not a terrible team or anything like that. But there was never any doubt. The way the game was going, I got a phone call from a buddy of mine who doesn't like Bama. He's like, is Bama really going to lose this game? I said, Florida State's going to win this game. It's not close. This is early, I don't know what, third quarter, something like that. And I said, this game ain't close. They're beating them up. They're killing them at the line of scrimmage. They're telling them what they're going to do, and they're just doing it. I remember having that conversation now, and it was just great because I'm like, this is what it's supposed to look like at Florida State. So, again, they took their will. They did it because they wanted to. They wanted it more. They executed it better. There was no frills at all. If you take nothing else from this pod, take that. Florida State can enforce its will on anybody. So, Miami Hurricanes, the Florida Gators, anybody else on the schedule, they've got a chance in any given game. And I'm sure teams will adjust after film was out and all that. But this was pretty interesting. When we come back, I'm going to break down just big box stats, look at a few things, a few players, and I want to give some shout outs and some awards. You ready for Florida State players to get their just due? I am, because I'm going to hand it out. That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Florida State football is back, obviously, after Alabama got its butt kicked by the Noles yesterday. Tailgating, all the fun, everything else at Doak Campbell Stadium. It's a lot of fun to be there. For those of you that experienced FSU beating Bama, by the way, congrats. I hope you really, really enjoyed it. But a lot of the time, getting tickets to these events is not the easiest thing in the world, and that's where Gametime comes in, because hidden fees with ticket prices and not really getting what you expect oftentimes is the case with ticket companies, but that's not the case with Gametime, the app that gives you the advantage back. It's the easiest way to get last-minute tickets at the best prices and no surprising fees. For me, with Gametime on the app, it is really easy to use. You pick the team you want, just type it in. It could be any sport, football in this case, football for Florida State or anybody else, pro, whatever. Click on the seat and you get your seat view. Straightforward. You can see where you're at from that seat to the pitcher's mound, to midfield in a football game or anything else. It's really, really easy. Gametime is a very cool app and an easy one to use. So take the guesswork out of buying college football tickets with Gametime. Just use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go, download the Gametime app today. All right, thank you once again for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Truly appreciate you stopping in to get all your latest Noles analysis and my takes and as I'm about to do with some statistics mixed in, my awards. First off, before I even hit a stat, the overall award isn't to a player for Florida State. And you say, well, wait a minute, Brian, it's about players. Well, it is plural, and that's the Florida State offensive line. The number one question I had coming into the game is I thought about it going into it the night before the ball game. Can Florida State pass protect against Bama's front? Because I knew they were going to run stunts and blitzes and do different things. And they did. But the Noles answered the bell with authority, not just like a little bit. They were more physical even in pass pro, which is just an oxymoron to say. So let's look at the stats here on this. Defensively, for the Alabama Crimson Tide, again, I'm not saying they're a bad team or anything like that. I'm just going through. They had a total of 1 sack and 3 tackles for loss. Meanwhile, the Noles had 3 sacks and should have had about 8. I'll give Ty Simpson credit. He's a slippery guy in the pocket. 7 tackles for loss and 3 sacks. The 3 sacks, just for the record, were given to Daniel Lyons. They were given to Stephon Thompson, and they were given to Diamante Diggs. So you got 3 different guys. James Williams he only got credited with the tackle, but that guy, he had a little bad luck. Like he was trying to sweep the leg, if you will, from Karate Kid. He was trying to sweep the leg and just missed a couple of times. And he could have had probably 3 sacks himself. But anyway, he was around the quarterback. Mandrell Desir, 4 tackles. 4 tackles. 2 of them solo. Really good sign for the future, having a guy like that. Daniel Lyons, he's a redshirt junior. He's got another year. I didn't think they were going to get much pressure. They caused some havoc. Jerry Wilson and the guys in the secondary, give them credit too. Jabril Rawls, he had 6 tackles. Wilson had 4. Passes broken up. Rawls had 1. Blake Nicholson had 1. We had 2 for Ashwin Barker. I mean, that's the guy they tried to go after. They didn't get it done. I mean, Florida State had 5 quarterback hits. Daniel Lyons had a couple. Blake Nicholson had 1. Pretty impressive stuff, man. James Williams had a couple. They beat Bama at their game. I thought they were going to be the ones that got all the quarterback hits. They got 1. They had 1 quarterback hit, 1 sack, 3 tackles for loss. Florida State's only turnover was in the special teams game. And it was just kind of a fluky bounce where Jalen had, hit off his it. Just one of those wrong place, wrong time deals. Bama didn't capitalize. Florida State was more physical in that specific drive when they could have seized momentum, when they could have got back in and made something happen. Florida State, they hit it. Now let's talk a little bit about the offensive stuff that Alabama was unable to do. And I don't know how this is possible with their offensive line, but these are the numbers. So credit to Florida State's overall defense, but especially the front, the linebackers, I thought played very, very well. Net rushing yards, 87. They averaged 3 yards a carry. So the linebackers are my second group for MVP, and just overall the defensive MVP were the linebackers. If I had to pick one player, maybe it's Cryer. It's tough picking one. I'll go Cryer, but he just seemed to be around the ball a lot, and he had 7 tackles. But I could have picked other guys. Like Nicholson played pretty darn well, and Herring was good. Like it was kind of just a team effort. But again, since Herring had the most, okay, I'll go with that. But I don't think that Bama cared who was in there, because it always seemed like our garnet and gold uniform was in their face. And really, that's the bottom line. So Florida State did a great job in that scenario. Third downs for Bama, they were 6 out of 17. That's pretty horrible. That's just a little bit over 33%. Fourth down, 2 out of 5 for Alabama. Garbage. Penalties, Florida State was pretty good, only 4 for 40. Penalties for Bama, 8 for 70. They did shoot themselves in the foot in that regard. Possession, it was pretty equal, almost 30 apiece. I didn't even know this until now. Alabama, they hit a couple of big plays, and the Bernard kid's good. Obviously, Florida State really tried to take Ryan Williams out of it. He had 30 yards receiving. They bracketed him. But the interesting part, while Bama averaged 11 yards per completion, they didn't really hit any with deep shots, and they didn't do much in the red zone. Like, once they got down there, they had to really nickel and dime it. Florida State just didn't give them anything. Maybe I should say the overall MVP is not a player. It's just Tony White and the defensive staff. They just made it awkward for Alabama. Maybe that's the best word overall here. Alabama was forced to play in an awkward manner. Like, outside of the opening drive, folks, they had 10 points. That opening drive for Bama, by all means, was very good. 15 plays, touchdown. Okay. After that, they struggled with Florida State's defense. It was a grind. So that was really, really interesting in that regard. But how about the overall effort? 382 total yards for the Noles, 341 for Bama. They only had 5 rushing first downs. That's incredible. They averaged just 4.7 yards per play. Alabama. That's the kind of number you would expect for Florida State to give up for their next 2 opponents, like Kent State. Somebody like that. It's just absolutely amazing. So I really don't know what to expect. But, I mean, Florida State took Alabama out of its game. And here's another stat just to show how much. Alabama ran the ball just 29 times to 43 passes. They were forced to go into pass mode pretty early, beating them up. They couldn't beat on Alabama, or they couldn't beat on Florida State. And if you go and look at the quarter by quarter numbers, this is, I announced this on the live show yesterday, but the quarter by quarter numbers for their rushing totals were garbage. It was so bad. First quarter, 58-28. That's the one quarter Alabama did well. But the second quarter, I don't know if Florida State in their last 20 years has dominated a quality opponent more. 98 rushing yards for Florida State to just 3 for Alabama. The players involved in that were all the linemen on both sides of the ball. I'm not going to single out any one individual. I'm just going to say they were more physical and they executed. I know it's boring. It was just precision. 4 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards. Annoying as crap. They just kept them off balance. In that second quarter, Florida State was 4 out of 5 passing for 34 yards. It was just short, methodical precision, taking them apart like a surgeon. So on third downs in that second quarter, the Noles were 3 out of 4, while Bama was 1 out of 4. Total plays in that quarter, 21-11, 6.3 yards per play for Florida State, only 1.2 for Alabama. Think back to yourself. Have you ever heard anybody that covers Bama nationally? When was the last time you heard them say Bama averaged 1.2 yards per quarter or play in a quarter? That second quarter was just an annihilation. Let's move on to the second half. Third quarter stats. Some interesting numbers here too. 36 rushing yards for FSU, only 5 for the University of Alabama. We get through that and we get to the fourth quarter, 68 rushing yards for the Noles, 21 for Bama. Fourth downs, Florida State was 2 for 2. Bama only 1 for 2 yards per play. They did more because they were throwing it. But Florida State dominated the clock. They got first downs when they needed it. 10:06 to 4:54. They made it happen. They were the timely precision team. And it really wasn't all that close. Florida State earned the win from opening play until the end. Their plan worked. They knew what they wanted to do. They told everybody what they were going to do. And the results showed it in a 31-17 resounding, dominant win over the University of Alabama. Dominant. By the way, shout out to all the running backs for Florida State for being gamers. Guys, nobody got one. Rodell had moments, etc. Keziah, all of them. Team play. I just want to throw that out as an extra bonus. I wasn't really planning on talking about that. Nobody worried about who got the most carries or got all that stuff. They just went out and did it. When we come back, finishing thoughts here. Alabama gets whipped up on by the Florida State Seminoles. Hey, Florida State fans, are you still paying full price for gas? Stop leaving money behind. Get real cash back every time you fill up with free Upside app. Simply download the free Upside app in the App Store or Google Play right now and start earning cash at the pump today. Use this limited time code football and get an extra 25 cents back on each gallon for your first fill up. You could make up to $300 in money that you didn't even think about because you got to get gas anyway. You might as well save. At first, you might think it was a little bit too easy. It's too good to be true, but it's legit. People are actually getting paid just to do what they always do, making their daily commutes to work and everywhere else. And you can do it too. Plus, you can cash out anytime to your bank account, PayPal, or e-gift card, or Amazon, or other brands. Don't let this offer drive by. Download the free Upside app now. Use limited time promo code football for a limited time 25-cent per gallon bonus. That's promo code football. Offers vary by user location. Go to upside.com for terms and conditions. Last thoughts here on Florida State beating Alabama 31-17. Just kind of looking at it overall. The drives, again, that's the key. Nothing short. 65, 75, 52. Florida State beating up on them, taking it to them play by play, and just the overall hammer hitting on the rock, and it's slowly chipping away. Then the crack gets there, and then the dam kind of busts open and the water bursts through. It was awesome. Just absolutely awesome. Florida State found a way to get that done. So here are the drive charts for the Noles on all of them. Just to be clear, 75, 65, 52, 68, and 75. Just grinding. The only drive that was really quick was the one to Jalen. And okay, that's one quick strike. But again, they did what they wanted and they set that up. By the point they got the touchdown in the third quarter, I think that's the one where Keziah scored on the rush thereafter. Jalen got it, 3 or something? They were really worried about the run. So any little pass play, any little jet sweep, any little thing they did was personified by the physicality of the tight ends, the H-backs. By the way, shout out Randy Pittman. He is annoying to deal with. He's really annoying. Chipping guys, making sure they don't get an easy path to the quarterback. They just beat the crap out of them. And that made it easier for Jalen to get loose. And as I've said all year, I was really excited to see what they would do with him because he fits Gus's offense so well. Amen to that. Score wide on the deep pass, etc. When you run the ball, it is easier to throw it down the field. Again, not rocket science. Gus said it in his opening press conference. They executed the plan all the way from that point until now. They are really difficult to handle in those scenarios. And I don't think that the game plan will really change when they play Miami or Virginia or anybody else. They're going to be physical up front, try to take away the will of that defensive front and punch them. But if you can do it against Bama, you can do it against anybody. Now, I'm just going to make the final statement. The game's over. You're 1-0. And for those of you who've seen it on social media, there are people talking about rat poison and all that. I'm giving them praise, and so is every other person in the media. And they deserve it. But do you consume it wholeheartedly, or do you acknowledge it and then move forward? This is the number one question that I have for Florida State, staff, and everybody else. It's the hardest thing to do. Saban talked about it forever. It's just true. I even had coaches talk about when I was like in middle school playing basketball and stuff like that. You're not going to win a lot of games if you come in with a big head. Next two games would be pretty hard for Florida State to lose, but you still need to get better. It's not that you win the game. What is it? East Texas A&M or something like that, whatever. And Kent State, I think those are the next two opponents. I know they're just teams they're going to obliterate. But do you get better in preparation for Miami? Do you get better in preparation for playing a Friday night game against Virginia? Do you get better for that game later in the season when you got to go to Raleigh to play NC State? How focused will Florida State be? How focused will Florida State be? If you let the rat poison seep in, you can end up falling back to earth. I don't want to later talk about like Virginia Tech or something beating Florida State because they played lackluster football. I assure you, it's more fun for me to do this podcast than it is to do that one. I have no idea. I have no opinion in regards to what I think Florida State will do because this is unprecedented coming off of yesterday. We don't have any evidence. It's a new staff, a whole bunch of new players. Really hard to say from game to game what's going to be there. But that is the task. And it's a hard one for Norvell and his staff to keep players grounded and assistant coaches for that matter too, to go out and maximize it. It really is. Final point. Florida State had a bazillion recruits on campus. Some of the kids I was with the night before I was at a game. I'll leave it at that. But Florida State had a bunch of kids on campus. There is no way that they couldn't have seen that, especially the storm of people flooding onto the field afterwards to show their passion for Florida State football and not be impressed by it. If they weren't, then they probably shouldn't go to Florida State. They should probably go to some directional school and just kind of wilt. Florida State needs dogs. They need people that want to be there and be in the moment. Are they going to do it? Are they going to be the team that capitalizes on this on the recruiting trail? Norvell, that's been his biggest bugaboo is he's not a recruiter. It's well known. He's got to capitalize on this. I'll be reporting on it. I'm going to do a little bit more recruiting stuff over the next few weeks because kids are coming to campus again. We'll hear different reports. No idea what they're going to say other than, it's exciting and all that. But I'm curious if there's anybody that either A, is close to committing, or B, it completely changed their trajectory. Not just 2026 kids, but 27, 28, 29, like freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. There are kids coming to games earlier and earlier now. Just get a vibe. If Florida State's going to get back to being a consistent team that can do this, they got to do it at the high school ranks. That's the way you do it consistently. Portal has got to go to the side. It has to be the cherry on top instead of your bread and butter. So let's see what happens with that over the next week. And I'll try to report as much as I can here on Locked On Seminoles. So stay locked in because it's going to be fun. Congratulations to everybody at Florida State. Y'all earned it. Y'all earned it. And there is nothing wrong with that. I'm happy that I get to talk about it in a positive light. I certainly don't enjoy doing negative podcasts when you don't play well. This makes it easier for me. So congratulations to Florida State football, Florida State fans. It has been fun. Please like and subscribe. We will see you again soon here on Locked On Seminoles.